board meeting is now called to order. We do have a quorum of all six of us, excuse me. And, you know, before we start, I'd just like to have a moment of silence in honor of Miss Beverly Ross. And before we do that too, if you would just look at the pretty banner that some of our students did in her honor. But if y'all would join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. May her life inspire all of us to work even harder.
Could you, in the press, say something about
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I am. We could just have an hour of prayer.
No, let's don't do that.
What I would like to do, I want to thank Reverend Thomas with New Life Baptist Church. He has so graciously accepted the last minute invitation to lead us in prayer. So Reverend Thomas, as you do that, would you please also lift up especially our superintendent?
Shall we pray? God and Father, we pray, we thank you for this hour. We thank you for the challenges of our world. We thank you for those things that you help us conquer. Our hearts are heavy, but as good soldiers, we must move on for the sake of our city, for the sake of our children. Now bless us and give us your wisdom and your kindness and your courage. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Thomas, and I'm so glad to see you again. Okay, we are going to start. We have a revised agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the revised agenda?
Madam President, I move that we adopt the revised agenda as printed.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries with 6 votes. We have our public comments, and so for our, there are no other ones, just the ones, okay, just the scheduled, okay. So for our public comments, I'm going to quickly read the rules and procedures. Requests must be made in advance in writing to the superintendent's office by 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday preceding the meeting date. Requests must have specified the nature of the business to be taken up with the board and the name of the person who will address the board to be added to the agenda. Communications must be respectful. Discussing specific student or employee matters will not be allowed. Individuals who have concerns that are inappropriate to be solved in this venue are welcome to seek a problem-solving meeting with the superintendent. Immediate feedback by the board may not be provided. However, you may be contacted for follow-up by the superintendent or her designee. Public comments may not exceed 5 minutes. The board chair has full authority to terminate the remarks of any person whose comments contain personal attacks, exceed the time limit, or are otherwise inappropriate. A speaker may be considered disruptive who continues to speak when their allotted time has ended, when asked to stop speaking by the board chair, or is otherwise inappropriate. If a person fails to comply when asked to terminate comments, he or she will be escorted to their seat, out of the auditorium, or off of the MPS property, depending upon the level of disruption. Now, the first one on our agenda is Ms. Katie Brown. Ms. Katie Brown, you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Hello. Out of condolence and respect for the missing board member, and being that most of the things that have been requested by the community have been performed or in the stage of being performed, I'll hold my comments until September. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Okay, next we have Mr. Dan Taylor.
First, I'd like to start off with my condolences for the Ross family and your family as well, as she was part of your family. And also, Ms. Allen, with your situation, I send my condolences your way as well. I'm here today to speak to the board and address you on behalf of my children, Axel, Cy, and Bri Taylor. Their condition is an immune deficiency where they do not produce antibodies correctly. They also have asthma and vasomotor, which is non-acute rhinitis, which can be exacerbated by their exposure to not correct humid air, which is put into place by central heat and air. This has been a known issue with Montgomery Public Schools for quite a few years, and the procedure in which we must go through every year is we must apply for a zone variance. Upon receiving the zone variance, our children are then assigned to a school. All right, this year we have been assigned to Carr as in the past, but at about the 5 years we've been in Montgomery Public Schools, only 1 year have our children been able to start school on time. Each year they miss an average of the first 3 days of school as we face issues with the Student Support Services Office and Sophia Johnson being the key member of
Okay,
there.
I need to stop you right there.
Okay.
Please don't use
Oh,
names.
okay, sorry about that. And once all this occurs, we submit doctor statements, and there's some kind of deadline this year we were notified of being August the 3rd. On August the 3rd, we were not able to have our notice ready because our doctor had been out of town. He had been out of the country, to be exact. On July the 1st is when I notified our doctor's office and was told that it would be no problem receiving these notices. Well, due to some underlying circumstances with the doctor, he was not able to get them to us in an appropriate time. All right, so we were told we would not be given a zone variance this year. During this meeting, there was another parent that went before us that my wife had spoke to. She was given a zone variance for her children due to it being closer to her work, so they transferred from Seth Johnson to Davis Elementary so she could be closer to her work, which was McDonald's, not a school employee. Okay, now, fast forward, my daughter here we're zoned for Flowers Elementary School. This was her kindergarten year. She is yet to begin school. We cannot physically be able to drive from Carr to Flowers in the allotted time to pick them up from school. So there's no way we can send her to school. And we've asked, and we've emailed, and we've spoke to school personnel, central office personnel, and the like. It is acknowledged by the school administration that there's no way we can be on both sides of town at the same time. The school they're rezoned for, being Carr, her two siblings, Axel and Cy, we must drive 13 miles one way to the school and back. In the mornings, this procedure takes an hour of our time. During the afternoon period, it takes up to an hour and a half as of last year because we had to go to Carr and Wilson, which is around the corner from Carr, and wait for that school line as well to take our children to and from school. Okay, with that being said also, my wife is supposed to not be allowed to take lunch after 2 p.m. because she's not able to do any loan closings after 3:30. So therefore, she loses all of her accounts, her loans that need to be closed after 3 o'clock because we're in the middle of transportation of our students. With my situation, I work for an independent owner of a company, and I'm the only one in the store. So therefore, I cannot leave my work to go get the kids because then we'll be leaving the store unattended. With this being said, I would also like to point out what she's missed. She's missed her now first 10 days of education. Is that correct? Is every day important to the child's education? Should she miss the very first experiences of her educational life? We as parents are supposed to do everything that we can for our kids. I have done this. I have emailed, I have followed the chain of command all the way to the top. I've come to you to address you today to ask you, what is your opinion? Could you drive your child to Carr and make it back across town and then back to work? No, not in the hour time frame allotted. There's no way. We're treated as if zone variances are only given.
Mr. Taylor, I thank you for your time, and I assure you that the superintendent and her staff are working on this situation.
I'd like to respond. Sound like them?
I believe so.
I think it is. They're dead up at the top.
Mr. Taylor, I commend you for standing up for your daughter. When our president states that she thinks there's something being done, I want to reiterate, I hope there's something being done. Because for a parent to stand up here after 3 years for the same thing on its own variance, there's no reason that you should have to do this. I do feel that certain parents, certain teachers, and certain board members are retaliated against. So I back you 100%.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'd just like to comment that I appreciate the information that you gave me last week and that same information this morning. And I assure you, as I assured you then, that we are working to support and help you get this situation resolved. There are schools that are closer than Carr and Wilson that we could have rezoned to, but those were your requests. And the document, the temporary document that I asked for the process, were we able to get that?
No, ma'am, I spoke with the doctor yesterday after waiting an hour and a half, and he's going to address that with his nurse, and hopefully we'll have an answer for that. But again, I would like to state, in no offense, and not trying to step over bounds, there are zone variances issued for other things than medical reasons. According to yourself, there was only 1/3 of the students of over 400 received a zone variance due to other reasons than a medical necessity.
Yes, so there are two reasons, court ordered and medical. Those are the two reasons. If there are others, I am not aware of them. Safety, yes, okay. So for safety reasons. But if there's anybody that wants that baby in school more than you, it's me. Or next to you, I want that baby in school as well. And I just want that very, very clear to you. This process is not intended to keep her out of school. The travel time that is keeping you from putting her in flowers, I'm sorry about that. As I indicated, you requested that distance. So that's null and void though. We're working to get her in there. I spoke with several people last week when you talked to me about doing this. And we're working on it. The two of us, you give a little bit and we'll follow the process and we can get your baby into school.
Out of all respect, out of all respect, I've given as much as a parent can give. I have emailed and requested and fully documented. I have all of the recordings that I can send to anyone that would like to hear these recordings.
And I've heard those reports.
My understanding, Mr. Taylor, if the 3 babies have that immune deficiency that you're talking about, and we got the other 2, and you know the process because we've done this several times. As you indicated, each year we have to go through this process, and we go through this process. Knowing that she was coming up for this, even before July, if we could have just gotten something, realizing that she too was going to need to have something, even if it's just an unofficial document. If she has it, even if she had it at birth, anything that we can get. And the problem is not your baby, it's the process. It's people requesting schools for reasons that we cannot verify. And we're just trying to be fair with everyone. And I do regret that this has impacted to this degree. I really do. And we're going to move on. I'm with you. I'm not leaving you. I'm leaving this conversation only. I'm not leaving you, as I indicated. We're going to keep doing what we have to do to get her where she needs to be.
But whatever you
Okay.
do, let it apply to everyone.
That's
who has
exactly
made that
right.
request.
That's the thing we're trying to
All
do.
right.
Thank you.
Community demands that.
Thank you. All right, we are going to move on our agenda to item 6A, receive as information. Mr. Dotson, the capital plan.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Madam Superintendent, good afternoon. I do have for you the capital plan, and Tom, before you do that, before we go to that, I do want to, I vacillated several times on how to present this to you all. I could have come up and here's the capital plan, and we're going to submit it, and you vote on it, but I thought it was incumbent upon me to at least give some history so that you'll understand the true focus of what we're doing in facilities and where this district actually stands. When we look at the facilities piece that we're going to do a capital plan, but however, there's so many other pieces that are involved and the finances that we have to do those things. I do want to go back on the history of that and look at that so that we kind of know where we're going. Tom, if you'll pull up the document. Projected capital funds for 2015. If you recall, in September of last year, when we decided to repurpose some bonds to get a little extra money for deferred maintenance, and we were able to cobble up about $10 million, if you will. And Tom, if you'll pull that up.
Working on it.
Okay. You should have that document. We were able to cobble up about 10 million, 10.7. And we indicated that we were going to utilize that for deferred maintenance based on the priority projects that we had submitted to you from my department. And there was a long list of priority departments of buildings that we already owned that needed work. That's capital plan.
I'm sorry, I thought that's what you asked for.
No, the capital funds available. And so-
You told me I have three. Copy this one.
This one here.
This one?
Right, that's the one. Right.
Okay.
There we That's fine.
We're good.
You all have that particular document. But anyway, we ended up with $10.7 million, and we indicated we had 1.3 in public and PSF funds. We had $312,000 from the sale of the annex. We had $1.5 million from the sale of head, and then the warrant issue where we repurposed was $7.6 million, which gave us 10.7. So then my department, we outlined what we wanted to do, priority projects. We had the HVAC system at Jeff Davis. We had several retrofits we needed to do at Lanier. We had some roofing projects. We had a list. Then later on, we get the offer from the city for the projects that we have at the mall. Well, they were going to give us $27 million. We had to cobble up $6 million of that. So 6 of our 10 is gone at that time. Now also, in jumps Loveless and the structural situation that we have at the Loveless building. So we have to transition Loveless to the Houston Hill building. That's roughly about 1.3, 1.5 million of that cost of retrofitting that building for a high school. So then that's another 1.5 that's actually gone. So that 10 million that we had to do those deferred maintenance is now down to roughly, what, about 3 million or so? Less than 3 million. But now keep in mind, those projects are still there. They're only just a year over. And we've got to, at some point, find a way to get to those. Now, as we begin to work on those, Tom, if you would, don't worry about that one. Go ahead and do the priority deferred maintenance and infrastructure.
It might not open either. For some reason, Excel is not.
Okay.
One project.
All right, on that document, this is a document that we submitted that we were going to spend that $10 million on. And it totaled $7 million. We were going to use that $10 million to do these things that we thought needed to be done. We prioritized them. As you see, number 1 is Jeff Davis HVAC. We did cover that. That's being taken care of. Phases 1 and 2. We had Lanier. We wanted to do renovations and ceiling drops for $1.2 million at Lanier High School. We had roofing projects at several schools, and then we had a HVAC system there. You drop down the line, if you see items starting with the replace replacement of the iNow database server, all the technology support services need, those were taken care of. Technology support, that's the switches, all those were taken care of. We got to safety. We needed new intercom systems at 5 schools, we only did 3. And that was Sidney, Lanier, Davis, and Johnson. Then, of course, the rest of it was technology upgrade, wireless upgrades for all of our buildings. Because one of the things we wanted to shoot for is we were trying to get to where we can actually have one-to-one and enhance the technology. We went out, we surveyed all of our buildings to see what it was going to cost us to upgrade our buildings so that we would have the access points and the wireless upgrade to facilitate one-to-one. That came to about $4.9 million, but through E-rate, it would only cost the district $550,000. That was something we had in this project to use there with that $7 million. In addition to, we were going to implement Chronos, the time and attendance system. We were going to go ahead and move the bathroom upgrades at Sidney Lanier for $800,000, and we're going to go to phase 3 of the Jeff Davis HVAC system. All of that, again, we weren't able to touch, and we still are not able to touch. So the roofs are still leaking. We still have trash cans in the school when the roofs are leaking. We're patching as best we can. But again, when you begin to talk about our facilities program and what we have, we just have old buildings and we've got to address them. Tom, now if you'll go ahead and pull up the document we have there. This document is based on what we have in our buildings, and also the foundation of this document is your facilities master plan created by Bill DeYoung in 2010. We've been utilizing that as the foundation of what you see here. Now we've added and taken away as needed fit, but this is the foundation of what is being used. Now in addition, we have consultations with architects as well as with structural engineers and TCU as we develop this to see what the status of our buildings are. We utilize all of operations to know how do we fit these in based on the needs and prioritizing. Now, okay, as we look at this document, I think let me first indicate this is basically a document utilized for districts, local districts to plan their facilities. It's not something that we submit to the State Department that they're going to grade, they're going to follow through, they're going to check that you made sure you did A, B, C, and D. But obviously, it's just something that we implement to ensure that we are looking at the long-range plan. And that's what this is governed by. So we actually have this to say, okay, we're going into 2020, and we know pretty much what we need to do, understanding that it'll flip-flop. So if you look at what we're submitting now, based on 2015, the top 3 items here are, of course, the projects we have going now. Your Park Crossing High School Addition, Loveless Academic Program, and the MTech Center. Now, I think of note, when we submitted this, this is how the $27 million was allocated. As of right now, and you'll get more of that during your work session, Park Crossing is coming in at $13 million. Loveless was reduced to $11.6, and the Tech Center was reduced to $8.7. So we were able to move around and do some of those things in order to get the best fit for each of the projects. Down from there, then what we see next, again, we have Lanier High School renovations is something we want to, which we see as something we're going to do. And again, please take in mind, this is vague because you're going to get more information from me, and I didn't want to include or go into it because we're going to present some options to you. What we do at Lanier is going to be predicated on what you decide when the options we present you as far as what we want to do with Lanier, if you follow what I'm saying. In other words, we're going to present options as to what we do there to find out just how much money we're going to spend there. Again, McIntyre Middle School, that is the additional building. If you recall, when we moved in as Impact, we only updated one building. The program was to update the other building that was actually going to serve as the labs. However, that building is still in need. It makes sense that we go ahead and spend the funding needed to go ahead and outfit it as classrooms, then it becomes another usable facility for us. And those are options that, again, September, October, when we actually go with those presentations, we're going to present that to you. We need to finish Jeff Davis. These are roofing projects that has to be done. They were listed. Their priority. And then we get into Capitol Heights. Capitol Heights and Lee are getting critical as we begin to do as the Ann Street expansion creeps closer and closer. We're going to have to do something there. I dread every day watching the students dart back and forth, the middle school students darting back and forth Madison Avenue and Atlanta Highway trying to get to Capitol Heights. They just don't use the tunnel. And we've just got to identify something we're going to do with that particular building. I don't know if we're going to, and we'll present some rezoning issues to you or rezoning propositions to you. It may be that we stop students from walking east down Madison Avenue and we use another facility. I mean, we're going to have to look at something. And once the expansion of Ann Street, then it's just going to be a lot more traffic. And so is it wise to have a school there? And then, of course, when you begin to close the school, what do you do with it, especially in a very high-profile area such as that? Now, I would gather that it may have a nice profit or retail value, resale sale value, if we go ahead and try to sell it, or the vice versa sales of it. So those things we got to look at. Same thing with Lee High School. As of now, the first phase, and that has been approved, the first phase for Ann Street project has been approved. It's going to cause that we're going to have to do site improvements at Lee High School to accommodate that. It won't get to the piece where it's actually going to take some of the property. That's the next phase. But the phase that has been approved by the city at this point will cause for, and they're paying for those retrofits that we're going to do on site improvements as far as how you get in, how you get out. That'll be within the next couple of years. So again, we need to be proactive in thinking, what are we going to do with Lee High School? What are we going to do with Capitol Heights? BTW, it's an old building. We deal with this with a lot of our old buildings. There's mold, there's just all kind of issues you have with these old buildings. What do? We've got to identify something. As indicated at the last board meeting, BTW is one of the properties that I'm actually having assessed, appraised, if you will, just to see what the value of the property, to know what we have to work with at the time, when the time comes that we begin to make those decisions. Central office, we've got to begin to look at, that's the next phase. What do? How do we centralize to get more efficient? We have 80,000 square feet at JCPenney's. We're talking and trying to get to that point. Do we utilize that for our central office? Those are things that, the discussions that we're going to present to you, but it's all listed in your capital plan. And then from there, you get into basic things that we see that are listed here in the Dijon plan, where we see just some are building replacements, some are renovations, which include HVAC system, those roofing, those kinds of things. And again, I can't speak enough about HVAC systems and air quality. That is causing a lot of problems for us because we have such old buildings. And I guess when we begin to talk about that, the money that has to be, funding that has to be spent just to eradicate that. Every time I get a call from a teacher or a school that the teacher assumes that there's mold in that building, or from a parent, then we've got to spend $1,000 just to have the air quality checked to see what the spore count is, to see if the spore count in that room is higher than the spore count outside. If it's higher than outside, then of course we got an issue and we've got to mitigate that and remediate it. So it's costing us a lot, but we have it a lot because we have old buildings, we have old HVAC systems in some of our buildings. So again, we're trying to prioritize in what we do, but again, things happen. And so we've got to do that. I think the best thing that I'm going to present to you is that we have so many buildings in such a wide area that we're trying to cover. I know neighborhood schools are what we're trying to get to, but do we begin to look at consolidating schools to limit lessen the number of buildings so that we can maintain them? You know, there's just quite a few things that come in that we have to be cognizant of that we're going to present to you, and we need to take this opportunity as we talk about the capital plan to make sure that you as a board are aware of those when we present those to you, that, you know, we're just not sitting back. We realize what we have to do, but, you know, how do we get the funding to do it? How do we put the mechanisms in place to do those things? At this point, I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions, board members? No, at this time. Mr. Boutzen, thank you. I look forward to the work session.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, next item, 6B, C&D wellness policy, Mr. Bowden.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First, I do apologize for having to come back before you with this wellness policy again. But when we first viewed it, Mr. Porterfield came up with a question that posed us to go back and engage. And we did some changes to the wellness policy to answer some of those things and clarify. First one being under nutrition standards, number 2. And basically all number 2 is that we as Montgomery Public Schools are at least meeting the minimum requirements demanded by USDA. And that's just a statement that we put in here to make sure that we are at least being falling under the guidelines of USDA. The next one is number 6, where Mr. Porterfield's question came up about bringing lunches from home and into the schools. And we've had a couple of issues whereas that question has come up, and we thought it necessary to go ahead and put it in black and white so that we've got some teeth to hold the policy in place when we're questioned about it. And it basically talks about sack lunches coming into the schools from home, from home, for meals purchased, and fast foods. And the only thing that we're basically saying there, and it's pretty much a directive from USDA, is that commercial containers, packaging cannot come into the cafeterias because it is viewed as competitive to the meals that we are serving. You can bring anything in there that you like. It doesn't necessarily have to meet the guidelines, but it has to be in unidentifiable or plain type containers. And we just felt that we needed to have that in writing to support our cause and give us something to refer back to. We wanted to also, in number 7, quote USDA and state wellness policy on teachers being required to set the example for students in following and adhering to not only the state wellness policy, but our own in MPS, so that we show united front and that we're all moving towards the same direction. And in number 8, we do have fundraisers here, and basically to put some guidance and guidelines in place to address the fundraisers.
Mr. Bowden, I have a quick question. Does anybody else? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, according to 8, with the fundraising activities, and then it says, involves selling of the food, that it should adhere to the smart snacks in the school policy. Is that what is listed in 4, that where it says calorie, with the calorie limit, snack items less than or equal to 20 calories?
Yes.
That's,
And we wanted to identify that as it needs to adhere to those standards that are in 4.
okay. Well, I just have to compliment you on 8C, the standards provide a special exemption for infrequent fundraisers that do not meet the nutritional standards. So I do like that it, we're trying to work with everybody.
We're trying.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Porterfield, you satisfied?
Okay, thank you. We're good.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. All right, 7, we have the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Okay. Did I skip
address
something?
C.
Oh, you know what?
Maybe address C, please.
Thank you. Keith, I'm sorry. 6C, resolution nomination for all-state school board member. Mr. Porterfield.
Good morning. Thank you for the
afternoon.
opportunity, President. Certainly, we received notice some time back that AASB was having its all-state school board member recognition program. And as a result, each school board was asked to nominate an individual that had shown exemplary boardmanship. As a result, certainly this is all state, and we feel that we have an individual as a part of our board that certainly fit the exemplary status for school boardmanship as far as leadership is concerned. Due to her commitment and dedication to public education, I would like to proudly present a resolution to nominate our own Ms. Melissa Stone.
Thank you. Golly, thank you. Thank you. I am very honored and humbled, and thank y'all. I really appreciate that so much. You just have no idea how much that means to me. So thank you. Thank you very much. That's something that is a forever. Thank you. Okay. Glad you kept me from skipping mine. All right. Thank you, Mr. Porterfield. 7, the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we adopt 7A and B.
Second.
All right. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries with 6 votes. 8A, personnel report, certified, support personnel, addendum 1 certified, and support personnel addendum as well.
Okay. Before we approve these, I'd like to ask you to look at the certified report for the removal of number 141. 141, yes.
Okay, you're gonna have to give me a minute on
Okay.
that. You said certified.
On the
right?
certified.
Certified.
Mhm.
141.
Mhm.
Okay, so omit that one.
Yes.
Board members, did everybody find that in the certified number 141? If you'll omit. Everybody good?
I'm getting that.
Okay, you take your time.
Okay, okay.
Okay, we're ready? Okay. I recommend the approval of the personnel report certified with the exemption of number 141, support personnel, and addendum 1 certified and support personnel certified.
Clarification. I would like to vote separately on the addendum for certified
Okay.
and, yeah, I'd like that to be a separate vote.
Okay.
Ms. Burns, are you referring to this one, the
That one that we.
addendum number 1, certified personnel minutes?
Right.
Okay.
I start with 168.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll do that again then. I recommend the approval of the personnel report, be certified with the omission of number 141 and support personnel and addendum 1 support. Okay?
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Absolutely. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any comments, questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries with 6 votes. Now, Mr. Allen will look at addendum number 1 certified.
Yes. I recommend the approval of the certified personnel minutes addendum number 1.
Do I have a recommendation?
Madam
Or a motion, I'm sorry, I have a
Madam President, I
recommendation.
move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion?
I just have some concerns about our selection process sometimes. I think we need to try to get people that are well-rounded in a lot of areas, but I just had a concern about something, so that's why I voted on separately, because I'm not supporting.
Okay.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I would like to agree with what you just said. I just think there should be more discussion, at least for board members, as to how people are hired, what the are they certified, or are they, because I'm hearing a lot of emergency certificates are going out when we have people that actually have degrees and master's degrees. So somewhere, I feel like there should be some type of discussion as to what qualifications at some point, because I'm getting a lot of flack and a lot of teachers that I can't answer them as to why you have somebody that has got an emergency certificate when they have doctorate degrees and master's degrees. I'm just a little confused.
Well, I welcome you to have conversations with HR department. I think, and please direct the teachers to that department that are asking you, because I think they can answer your questions about the
And my concern,
certification.
Margaret, was I've been on the board since December. I've written a letter that I was gonna, let the dust settle, because we've had a lot of bad happen, or sad things happen. But I have questioned, when do we hear all this? And it wasn't until I heard Ella Bell on the radio last week, where I felt like the state board members are just as in the dark as some of us are. And I don't know how to tell you I need to be enlightened other than just the public. And what I'm getting is the public, and all I know is we come in here and we go, hey, we've got 200 people here, we recommend it. And then if I was to go, who's this person? We never discussed it, and I just wanna know professionally, maybe I'm a newbie, I don't mind being green. I'm green and growing, when you're ripe, you're rotten. And I'm ready to grow, I just wanna know something.
Mr. King, yes, sir.
What I'd recommend, and I think most of the board members do at least, and I know I do, when we get the reports in our packets, if you have a question, I call Margaret or I call personnel or whatever the case may be, and they always answer my questions. So, you know, if you do have questions, just give them a call.
I feel that, but I think we all know how my persona is perceived here. And I feel like when I call on anybody, they are blackballed, and I know they're blackballed. I know they're not gonna get in. I know, I've already played the game of, hey, come get your person to talk, and they do. And at the last minute, they get hired. I know the game here. And I personally know if I recommend somebody, they need to go to Elmore County or something, because here, it won't happen, at least Keystone.
Well, Dr. King, I just would like to reiterate what Mr. Dean has said, and, you know, as board, we don't get involved in the,
Lightning strikes me at this point, because
You brought that on, Lisa.
the board does not, are you ready, Dr. King? The board does not take part in the hiring. We just approve. Our employee is the superintendent.
and that's
We
my
give-
problem, we rubber stamp.
Ma'am?
That's rubber stamping, because we don't
No,
know.
no, no,
what
no,
we're-
no. Can you listen to me for just a minute?
Yes, ma'am.
Lisa, this is our employee. The rest of the employees are her employees. We give her the vision and the charge, and we leave it up to her. That's why the evaluation process is so important. That's why we communicate with our superintendent, but we give full confidence in her leadership. She gives full confidence in her cabinet. And so that's when we get this personnel report. If you see somebody on here that you question, I would strongly suggest you either contact HR or Miss Allen. Nobody's blackballing anybody. We have to communicate, but waiting until you get to the board meeting to get upset about something, that's not gonna work very efficiently. So
I'm
I
not
just
upset, I'm merely
recommend.
asking for help. And when you see what I've seen right here, Melissa, you know, you talk about evaluation. We gave her a C, okay? Those were the, and then the media got on and said, well, we did great. We got a C, okay? And that was the place that we needed help in, is the way that we go about hiring. All I did was back up what Mary Breyer brought up.
Okay, Dr. Key, this is not on the agenda, but I just would like to say it was not a C. It was met expectations and above expectations, so.
What was it then if it wasn't
Okay,
a
that's
C?
enough. We're
I
gonna stick
move the
with the
previous
agenda.
question.
We're gonna call the point of order. We do have a motion with a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries with 5 votes. Okay, all right, 7, we're at 7B. No, we're actually at 8B, the
Okay.
capital plan.
Yes.
Hold on, that was there. The vote was to close debate. I moved the previous
Oh.
question, that was to
okay.
close debate.
Okay.
Now, we voted to close debate.
Okay.
Now we're voting on certified personnel.
Okay,
list and then the-
forgive me, all right, but I do believe we had a motion and a second.
Yeah, for the other part.
Yes.
For this, what we just voted on was to close debate.
Okay.
Previous question, and we closed debate.
Okay.
Now we're back to voting on her recommendation.
Okay, we are voting on the certified addendum 1.
One.
We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, motion carries with those opposed. All right, are you abstaining, Dr. Keith? Okay, motion carries with 4 votes. All right, now we have 8B, the capital plan.
Yes, I recommend approval of the 2016 capital plan.
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the 2016 capital plan.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries with 6 votes. 8C, registered physical therapist.
Yes, I recommend the hiring of a registered physical therapist for the school system.
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation on hiring a registered physical therapist.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
When we had our last board meeting, there were several mistakes on the physical therapist that were addressed, one of which was where we were gonna hire a physical therapist, and then we were gonna do one for $56 for 56 hours a week, and they clarified that, but I was so confused at looking at the mistakes, along with some of the spelling mistakes that they had on there. And I'm not understanding, what are we voting for? One therapist, or are we voting for those ones that are hourly as well?
We're gonna need to look at that document. The document that you were given and the presentation that you had at the last meeting, did you review that document?
I did, and if we're still doing that, to me, it would be more costly to hire a second therapist than pay them hourly.
It's my understanding in our last meeting that these therapists were mandated. And not only that, much of the monies are coming through, and the question was asked, with respect to Medicaid. So as far as the funding is concerned, I think that is not a part of what's coming out of the general fund for us. That money is going to be replaced with Medicaid.
Yeah, it is. That's correct. That's correct.
I think we, at this point, when we're at the table now, to support this, I don't think we even have any other alternative but to, because it's mandated.
I support it, but it's the hourly, I think we're spending so much money on.
It's not us, it's through
I think she
Medicaid.
explained that to you, that it wasn't the way that you were the way that you were thinking it was. It's not the 50, you were saying it was $55 an hour or 56 something, and she told you it was not that way. It is not. And this process of hiring our own is going to save us, or whoever's paying it is going to save us. And this person will be able to support us at Children's Center where the greater need is and across the school system.
So what are we voting? Are we
Okay.
voting on one
Dr.
therapist?
Dees, we're
and two-
voting on 2 9-month therapists.
Her request is for 2 9-month specialists and one that would be part-time, that would pick up everything that the 2 9-month positions could not take care of.
In fact, you just answered my question.
And that part-time position will be an hourly position and not a salary position. And that is the one that will pick up the slack. Because if we don't do that, we have to pay the other 2 overtime, which is more expensive. So it's just cheaper to have an hourly person to pick up those extra hours for extra duties. And we are reading from the minutes of the last meeting, just for the documents to certify that that's it.
And I believe you do have those minutes in your board packet if you would like to refer to that. Okay, I know I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Are you abstaining?
Yes.
Okay, but motion carries with 5 votes. All right, 8D, CMT wellness policy.
I recommend the approval of the CMP wellness policy.
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to accept the CMP wellness policy.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries with 6 votes. All right, the Abracadoodle contract.
I recommend the approval of the Abracadoodle contract, reflecting back on the last minute meeting. We're going to utilize that arts program to support the priority schools, the priority middle schools.
Okay.
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the Abracadoodle contract.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries with 6 votes. All right, we have AF, nomination for all-state school board member.
Did you make that?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the nomination for our all-state school board member, Ms. Melissa Snow.
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? All right, we pass this with 5 votes. I really appreciate the 5 of you and your support. That means the world to me. Okay, now, we are going to adjourn this meeting. No. Oh, Lord have mercy, y'all. I'm a little
That's
rattled.
okay, I understand. But, I understand.
Okay, District 7 vacancy replacement, this is just so hard. But what we're going to do, I'm going to take nominations for members at this time. If you have somebody that you would like to nominate, would you please do so now?
Madam President, we know that there have been a lot of discussion about who should be selecting it and who should be appointing the vacancy. But we know what the status and the policy is for us. It takes 4, the majority of our seated board members, and the majority of 6 would be 4. We would need 4 votes to do this. With the only other stipulation is that the person be from District 7, because District 7 had elected the person to serve on this board. So with all of that being said, and I have, since I've been here this morning, circulated a resume of the person that I am nominating. I am sure with all of you reading this and knowing this person would know that she would be a perfect person for this board, inasmuch as she has attended a lot of our meetings. She could finish the sentences of Beverly Ross, and Beverly Ross could finish the sentences of hers. So we know that she knows what we feel about Montgomery Public Schools students and faculty and staff. And with that being said, I nominate Roberta Collins.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations at this time?
Is this not something, I mean, I understand the nominations, but it's just been a week and we have 30 days, and I don't understand why the public has not, I think the public has a right to issue or submit some names that they would be interested. I just think it's a little bit too soon. It's not been 1 week.
Dr. King,
Oh.
it is our duty as board members, not the public's duty. We have all been elected by our different districts, and if you have a name that you would like to submit, then you're welcome to. But I think that we do have a nomination now. I did send out an email letting you know that we would accept nominations at this meeting. So, yes, ma'am.
And Madam President, we need to go on with the business at hand. We have a lot of things that are facing us now. And why do we need to wait 30 days? If either you vote it up or vote it down. If you don't have a nomination, then you can vote for this person or you cannot vote for the person. All we would need would be 4 votes. And I move that we vote, since there are no other nominations.
I just think our public perception, it just looks like we're rushing it. We've already got a bad reputation, and you're not allowing the public to even submit a name.
Lisa, and I'm not gonna get into a verbal confrontation with you. I don't care what we do, some of the people in the public won't approve. So if we wait to do things, waiting on the public to approve what we do, we would never get anything done. With that being said, Madam President, my nomination is still Roberta Collins.
Okay. All right.
Then I'd like to, how many can we nominate? Because to me, how do we even, okay, then I'd like to nominate 3.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay.
Well, no, yes, 2. No, excuse me, 3.
All right.
You can only vote once, so you can't vote 3 times.
Well, then we'll just put in Ron Sanders.
Ron Sanders. Okay.
Ron Sanders is not in District 7.
I don't know, then if not Ron Sanders, then we'll put Sharon Garrison.
May I do one thing for the record? I want to just make sure that the minutes are going to reflect I want to read the specific board procedures for the board's sake, for some of you that may not have just reflected on those, and for the community's sake, and for the minutes' sake as well, so we can just have on the record that we are complying with the process, and I also included some notes that went through the statutory requirements, just so we can be clear on nominating what the person's for, just a couple of the statute in addition. The main one is residency in the district, but I just want to put this out for the record, if that's okay. The board procedures state that in the event of a vacancy by resignation, death, or otherwise, such vacancy is to be filled through election by a majority vote of the remaining members of the Montgomery County Board of Education. Such replacement shall meet all the requirements of a regularly elected board member. If such action is not taken within 30 days, the state superintendent shall fill the vacancy by appointment. Qualifications for a seat on the County Board of Education pursuant to Alabama Code Section 16.8-1 are as follows. Number 1, the person must be of good moral character. Number 2, has obtained a high school diploma or its equivalent. Number 3, is not employed by that County Board of Education. Number 4, is not serving on the governing board of a private elementary or secondary educational institution. Number 5, is not on the National Sex Offender Registry or State Sex Offender Registry. Number 6, has not been convicted of a felony. And most importantly, well, I don't know most importantly, but number 7, is a resident of the school district with such residency having been established at least 1 year before the general election that the candidate is elected or appointed in the event of a vacancy. So I just want to make sure that those things are out there, so as you choose between your 3, those are the things that we have to make sure. The person has to be a resident of District 7 and meet those other qualifications. It is the decision of the board, as Ms. Breyer stated, and it has to be done within 30 days. And we have, I guess, a lot of pending things that are happening for the urgency of the decision. So I just wanted to make sure the record reflected that. As you chose your nominee.
Dr. Keith, I would just like to remind you too that I did send you an email with the explanation that the nominations needed to fill these requirements. So do you have a nomination that fills these requirements that you would like to submit?
I submitted Ron Sanders, I don't know if he's in District 7.
It's not in District 7, I just told you.
And that's why we should at least take the time to find this out, but that's okay. It looks like y'all are gonna do this today anyway.
Let's just move on to said nominations. If you knew, and certainly from understanding the procedure or process, because you mentioned the deadline in terms of number of days, so certainly you didn't come to the board meeting today unaware of the fact that we need to do something with respect to the replacement. I would ask that we move on those said nominations.
Okay, are there any other nominations to come before the board? Ms.
Madam
Dawkins, did you
President,
have?
I move that we close the nominations on the said name.
Second.
All right, okay, so I'm going to go ahead. All those in favor of Roberta Collins,
Well,
was
she had Sharon Garrison, you still?
No, I'm going to abstain. I'm
Okay,
gonna,
that's-
you know,
that's
y'all are gonna do
expected.
this.
well,
Go
so
on,
are
go on, do what you're doing.
one moment, are you pulling Ron Sanders, because that's who you
You
said?
can't Ron Sanders shouldn't be in there.
Okay, all right,
He ran for Tracy Larkins.
got you, okay.
State, city council.
Do you want to add Sharon Garrison or not?
Yeah, let's put Sharon Garrison in.
Yes?
Sure.
Okay, so do you have that?
Is she in the district? Or do you know?
She was, her name was given to me by Dr. Lori White. I'm just answering to the public, which is what I was
So
elected to
you
do.
have discussed it, then you act like we, or just.
I only had the public call me, Mary.
Dr. Keith, the only concern that and I like Sharon Garrison a lot.
And I know it too.
But I
was
believe
over there.
she's working for us, so she's not gonna be able to, she works with the,
And I don't think she's a, well.
Are we spinning our wheels, or are we gonna move on to
So
said
she's
nomination?
employed in MPS, is what you're saying.
yes, she is.
Well, why don't, to cut down on any misinterpretation later, since she submitted Sharon Garrison, put her name in nomination and we vote on it.
Okay.
Whatever she gets, she gets.
All right,
And we can come back, if she is to win and she doesn't qualify, we can
Yeah.
figure that out.
I'll just make
Okay, Sharon Garrison, she talked to.
Okay, all those in favor of Roberta Collins, please raise your hand. All right, you know, we have 5 votes, and All the,
Oh,
ma'am?
no, Sharon Garrison.
Sharon Garrison.
But you have one vote for Sharon Garrison.
Yes, okay. Well, I would like to announce that our board member for District 7 will be Roberta R. Collins. And we just want to welcome her. And what I'd like to do, if it's okay, if I have the board's pleasure, I want to read a little bit of her professional experience. Is that okay, Ms. Breyer?
Yes, I brought it for you all to see. No, you can do it.
Okay.
You're the president. I just wanted the board members to see, you had given us enough time to think about this.
Right.
And I got the resume, I shared it with all of the board members, and I have presented what I needed to present, so you can just
Okay.
read it for
Well,
the people that are here.
She graduated from Alabama State in 1968 with a Bachelor's of Science, Business Education, and a minor in English, College of Business. She also received a counseling degree, a Master of Education from Alabama State in 1972. In 1981, she completed at Alabama A&M University vocational educational certification. If you look back on the back of her resume, I guess is what we'll call it right here, some of her honors and awards, she was Montgomery County Public Schools Career Tech Teacher of the Year. She was Carver High School Outstanding Teacher of the Year. She had Excellence in Teaching Award, Assurance Testing Lab, Inc. at Lee High School. She is Who's Who among America's high school teachers from Lee High School. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Spirit of Service Award with ECHO. Goodwill Industries Volunteer Services Award in 2014, Volunteer of the Year. She is Woman of the Year Award recipient from Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, Girl Scouts of Southern Alabama, Woman of Distinction. She's recognized for implementing a pilot program at Lee High School, which focused on introducing speed writing into the curriculum. And there are many leadership and affiliation places that she's involved in. What I like most about Roberta is that she's well-rounded, and I believe that she will help meet not just one part of our students, but she will actually understand the full scope of being a board member, is that she will help us with all of our students, helping them strive for excellence. Okay.
Melissa, I'd just like to say, I like Roberta a lot. I think she'll do a wonderful job. My whole problem today, and the only reason I mentioned it was I just thought it was soon. That's it. Other than that, I welcome Roberta to the board as well.
Good. I'm glad. Well, I appreciate that attitude.
She didn't vote for her.
No, that's okay.
It's okay,
You know
I
what?
voted what the public wanted, which is
Well,
who elected me.
This is what I'd like to say, and then we're going to adjourn the meeting. You know, whether you vote for something or not, once the board approves it, the board as a whole will move forward with that decision. So I expect that you will welcome her as part of our team. With that, our meeting is adjourned.